The steady beeping of monitors had become the soundtrack of Dr. Ethan Cole's morning rounds for the past 4 years. Room 314 was always his final stop, where 24-year-old Sophia Bennett lay in the same position she had occupied since the car accident that had stolen her consciousness but somehow left her beautiful face untouched by time. "Good morning, Sophia," Ethan said softly as he entered the room, just as he had every day for 1,247 days. At 32, he had seen many coma patients during his neurology residency and fellowship, but something about Sophia's case had captured not just his professional interest, but his heart. He checked her chart, reviewed her vital signs, and gently examined her reflexes, talking to her throughout the process as he always did, despite the lack of response that medical science told him to expect. "Your physical therapy went well yesterday," Ethan continued, adjusting her pillow with the care he would show his own family. "Sarah, your physical therapist, says your muscle tone is remarkably good. We have been working hard to keep you strong for when you decide to come back to us." What Ethan did not say aloud was that he had spent countless hours researching experimental treatments, consulting with specialists around the world, and refusing to accept that Sophia Bennett would never wake up. Her trust fund could afford the best care money could buy, but it was Ethan's determination and hope that had sustained her through 4 years of medical uncertainty. As he prepared to leave for his next patient, Ethan heard something that made him freeze. A soft sound, barely audible above the ambient noise of the hospital equipment. "Doctor!" Ethan spun around so quickly he nearly knocked over the four-stand. Sophia's blue eyes were open, focusing on his face with an expression of confusion and wonder. "Sophia!" Ethan whispered, moving quickly to her bedside. "Can you hear me? Do you know where you are?" Sophia's voice was hoarse from years of disuse, but her eyes were alert and aware. "I feel like I have been sleeping for a very long time. You are Dr. Cole, are you not? I remember your voice." Ethan felt his heart racing as he pressed the call button for the nursing staff. "Yes, I am Dr. Cole. Sophia, you have been in a coma for 4 years. This is absolutely incredible." Within moments, the room filled with nurses, including Sarah and Jennifer, who had been caring for Sophia throughout her long unconsciousness. Both women had tears in their eyes as they witnessed what they had hoped for but barely dared to believe would happen. "She remembers Dr. Cole's voice," Jennifer whispered to Sarah in amazement. "4 years." Sophia repeated, trying to process this information. "That cannot be right. It feels like I just closed my eyes." "It is right," Ethan said gently, sitting on the edge of her bed and taking her hand in his. "Sophia, you were in a very serious car accident. You have been unconscious since then, but your brain has been healing. This is the most wonderful thing that could have happened." As the initial excitement settled and the necessary medical tests were conducted, Ethan found himself alone with Sophia again. She had been moved to a sitting position and was looking around the room with curious eyes. "Dr. Cole," Sophia said, studying his face carefully, "how often did you visit me?" Ethan felt heat rise in his cheeks. "I am your primary neurologist. I checked on you daily. Every day for 4 years." Sophia asked, and Ethan could see intelligence and perceptiveness in her eyes that suggested her cognitive abilities were intact. "Every day," Ethan confirmed. "I talked to you about your progress, about the weather, about medical journals I was reading. I played music that your family said you enjoyed. I wanted to make sure you knew you were not alone." Sophia was quiet for a long moment, absorbing this information. "I think I remember some of it. Like hearing familiar sounds from very far away. Your voice was the clearest." Over the following days, as Sophia underwent extensive testing to assess her recovery, Ethan found himself marveling at the strength and grace with which she approached her situation. Learning that she had lost 4 years of her life, that her parents had passed away during her coma, that her business empire had been managed by trustees, she faced each revelation with remarkable resilience. "The neurologist from Johns Hopkins wants to study your case," Ethan told her during one of his evening visits. "Your recovery is unprecedented. Most coma patients who wake up after this long have significant cognitive impairment, but your brain function appears to be completely normal. What do you think made the difference?" Sophia asked, working with the physical therapist to regain her strength. Ethan considered the question carefully. I think it was a combination of factors. You received excellent care, your family ensured you had the best medical support, and… He paused, unsure whether to continue. And… Sophia prompted. And I think maybe some part of you was still fighting, still listening, still connected to the world through the people who cared about you. Sophia looked at him with an expression that made Ethan's heart skip. You cared about me, did you not? Even though you never really knew me before the accident. I did care about you, Ethan admitted. I researched every possible treatment, consulted with specialists, read every study about coma recovery. I suppose I became invested in your case in a way that went beyond professional duty. Why? Sophia asked simply. Ethan struggled to find words for feelings he had never fully acknowledged, even to himself. I think because I saw something in you, even unconscious, that seemed too valuable to lose. Your family talked about your kindness, your intelligence, your passion for life. I could not accept that all of that was gone forever. As Sophia's physical strength returned and she prepared to leave the hospital, she insisted on having dinner with the medical team that had cared for her. Ethan was surprised when she asked to speak with him privately afterward. Dr. Cole, Sophia said as they sat in the hospital garden. I know this might sound strange, but I feel like I know you better than I know anyone else in the world right now. You were the constant presence during the most vulnerable time of my life. Sophia, Ethan said carefully, you have been through an extraordinary experience. When you return to your life, when you reconnect with friends and rebuild your routines, these feelings might change. Maybe, Sophia agreed. But I do not think so. I remember the sound of your voice when you thought I could not hear you. I remember the way you talked to me like I was still a person, not just a patient. That kind of caring is not something I am going to forget. Ethan felt torn between his professional responsibilities and the growing feelings he had harbored for 4 years. Your recovery should be your priority right now. Learning to live in the world again, reconnecting with life. I am reconnecting with life, Sophia said with a smile. And the first person I want to share that life with is the man who never gave up on me. 6 months later, as Ethan and Sophia walked through the same hospital garden where they had first spoken as doctor and recovered patient, Ethan reflected on the unexpected path that had brought them together. Do you ever wonder what would have happened if we had met under normal circumstances? Sophia asked, her arm linked through his. I think about it sometimes, Ethan admitted. But I also think that the way we met, the way we came to know each other, created something that could not have existed any other way. I agree, Sophia said. You fell in love with who I was at my most vulnerable. I fell in love with who you were when you thought no one was watching. That seems like a pretty solid foundation. Ethan stopped walking and turned to face her. Sophia, I want you to know that if you ever doubt this, if you ever wonder whether your feelings are real or just gratitude, I will understand. Sophia reached up and touched his face gently. Ethan, I spent 4 years in darkness, and your voice was the light that guided me back. What I feel for you is not gratitude. It is love. As they kissed in the garden where Sophia had taken her first steps back into the world, Ethan thought about the mysterious ways that love can develop. He had watched over her for 4 years, never imagining that she was somehow watching over him too, that she was learning to love him through the sound of his voice and the tenderness of his care. You know, Sophia said as they continued their walk, I have been thinking about setting up a foundation for coma research and family support. I want other families to have the hope that mine had, and I want other patients to have doctors who care the way you cared. That sounds like a beautiful way to honor what you have been through, Ethan said. Will you help me? Sophia asked. Not as my doctor anymore, but as my partner in building something meaningful. Ethan smiled, thinking about how their story had begun with him caring for her in unconsciousness and had evolved into them caring for each other in full awareness of the love they shared. I cannot think of anything I would rather do, he said. As they walked back toward the hospital where their unusual love story had begun, Ethan realized that sometimes the most profound connections are forged not in moments of consciousness and choice, but in the quiet spaces where one person simply refuses to give up on another.